So, I may or may not have watched that 8.5 hour long video essay. Bomberman is one of those franchises I think most people have at least heard of, but not many have experienced beyond a few titles. I myself am admittedly one of these people. Prior to really exposing myself to the wider franchise, I had only ever played 3 games: Hero, GB, and R, but the only thing I have to say about that is fuck Konami. Anyway, since then, I've been wanting to explore what the series has to offer, but of course, I don't exactly have the time or resources to go through everything. That would almost certainly take all day, not even joking. But, of course, there's no better place to start than, well, at the start. However, if I were to totally adhere to that statement, well, it requires a quick history lesson. You see, Bomberman for NES wasn't the first game in the series. There were 2 others that came before, both for Japanese home computers, which Hudson liked very much, and in 1983, they released a game called Bakudan Otoku, or literally Bomb Man, even though it says Bomberman on the title screen, where you play as some guy blowing up balloons in a series of mazes. The MSX version was later brought to Europe, along with a new ZX Spectrum version, although, when they localized it, they gave it the new name Eric and the Floater- I'm sorry, what? Floaters. There was also a version with shitty early 80s quote-unquote 3D, which, trust me, is not the most pleasant experience. Presently, in 1985, it was decided Hudson should port Bakudan Otoku to the Famicom, and, if rumor is to be believed, the entire game was made in a single 72-hour programming session. Now, there's no proof of this, but considering the game's simplicity, I wouldn't fully doubt it. This Famicom version was given the name Bomberman, and was later brought overseas in 1987, and that's more or less where it stands as of now. Now, there is a story to this game. Sort of. According to the manual, you are Bomberman, a robot created for the production of explosives in an underground facility. The exact reasons as for what and why are never explained. Anyway, Bomberman doesn't seem to be too content with this experience because he has emotions, I guess, and one day hears a rumor that if any robot were to escape the facility and reach the surface, they would become human. Bomberman comes to the conclusion that being a meat sack is preferable to making bombs all day and runs off. This alerts the quote-unquote enemy, the manual's words, not mine, to his escape. And now, there are things out to kill him. The solution to this issue? Why, bombs, of course. What, you thought a guy named Bomberman would use something else? Thus, the game is set. The goal is right there, and all you have to do is make it. Naturally, though, this is easier said than done. You see, Bomberman for NES is an arcade-style game. In short, it's hard as fuck. The game only has 50 total stages, but actually getting there is a test of skill and endurance. As the name implies, you must defeat your enemies with the power of explosives. Bombs explode into a burst of flames in a cross shape within a limited area of effect, starting with one adjacent square in all 4 directions, deadly to your enemies and to you, and can also cause chain reactions. Actually killing enemies requires careful placement and timing, and, of course, a swarm of blocks exists in each level to get in your way. The majority of these can be destroyed, revealing power-ups, the level exit, or more commonly, nothing. Now, when you first start out, you'll only be able to place 1 bomb at a time, with 1 range of flame. 1 bomb, 1 flame is a sad existence, and waiting will eat up your precious time. So, in the early going, it's best to kill everything as quickly as possible, because once that timer hits 0, the level will flood with late-game enemies. Good luck trying to win now with a bunch of coins and 1 bomb! Thankfully, though, you can power yourself up. A single power-up exists in each level, hidden in the soft blocks like the level exit. This can be a number of things. Flame Up, which increases your blast radius, Bomb Up, which increases the amount of bombs that can be set at one time, and Skates, which allow you to move faster. Each of these will help you along your way and are semi-permanent. However, there are more powerful buffs that dramatically change the game, and for this, they are lost the instant you die. The Remote Bomb, which will allow you to detonate your explosive ordnance on command with the press of the B button. Wall Pass, which lets you walk through soft blocks. Bomb Pass, which allows you to walk through placed bombs because you're not allowed to do that otherwise. And finally, late in the game, you'll be able to find Invincibility, which is self-explanatory, and the most powerful power-up in the game, the Flame Shield, which negates the deadly nature of your bomb's blast, while still remaining deadly to your enemies. And there are quite a few. Balum, balloon-like enemies that have been in just about every game in the series and is the base enemy. O'Neill, these onion-looking guys that move faster than the Balums and home in on you when you are nearby. Doll, which aren't as much of a threat as they seem, moving back and forth aimlessly and occasionally getting stuck on walls. Minvo, fast, smiling bastards that chase after you, but also get stuck on level geometry from time to time. Doria, slow-moving blobs that can move through soft blocks. They can also chase you, but their slow movement isn't much of a threat. Ovape, which acts much like the Dorias. However, they won't chase after you, though they move much faster. Pass, my personal least favorite. Fast, tiger-looking things that avoid bombs and chase you down. They are a bitch to kill without remote bombs. And Pontan, arguably the most dangerous enemy in the game. Fast, able to pass through soft blocks, and constantly chasing you down. Thankfully, though, every single one of these enemies has the same weakness: combustion. Do be careful with your ordnance, however, for bombing a level's power-up or exit will result in enemy spawns, which is good for points but bad for the timer. Of course, all of this makes for a great challenge, albeit a rather tedious one. The majority of the 50 levels seem to go on forever, which can be attributed to a number of things. Namely, the scenery. It's all the same green maze with gray blocks, over and over, repeating ad nauseum until the end. The music also tends to be a bit grating. Yes, you're hearing that right. The main music that plays for basically the entire game is a 7-second long loop. Now, imagine having to hear that almost non-stop for almost 3 hours like I did. It damn near drive you insane. Thankfully, the music does slightly change when you pick up a power-up. And also when you reach a bonus stage, occurring every 5 levels. And later renditions of the main theme will add more to it. Now, there is a way to break the tedium. In fact, I'd argue it breaks the game entirely. Remember how I said the Flame Shield makes you immune to bomb blasts? That the Remote Bomb allows you to detonate bombs on command? That when bombs explode near each other, the blast triggers a chain reaction in all the bombs near it? Well, combined with all of those gameplay elements, that allows you to do this. I'm not entirely sure what this is called. No name was ever given to it in English, and a later Japanese strategy guide would call it Bakuin Cross Attack, Bakuin meaning smoke from an explosion. Basically, it allows you to create near infinite flames and become practically invincible for the last leg of the game. You still need to be careful though, because enemies are still deadly to the touch. But this quote-unquote feature, which was probably an oversight, completely breaks the game. It turns the formula into Step 1, expand your bomb and flame capacity. Step 2, survive until you get the remote bomb. Step 3, survive until you get the flame shield. Step 4, Spam buttons until the game tells you to stop. It almost feels refreshing after slogging through the game up to this point. Nothing can get in your way. Of course, though, it takes some time and skill to get there, but once the 50 stages are up, you're greeted with an end screen, stating that Bomberman has successfully reached the surface and become human. Wait a second. Huh. Okay, so once the game is done and over, Bomberman becomes Load Runner. This is even explicitly stated in the Japanese version of the game, and to connect the two games further, Bomberman's sprites are literally just those of the enemy robots from the NES version of Load Runner. So what, Bomberman becomes human and decides to steal the money of his robot brethren? Maybe I'm reading into this too much. But yes, Bomberman becomes human after the game is essentially over. Don't get used to it though, he goes back to being a robot in basically every game after this, and then the game repeats through the 50 stages again, just like any arcade game would. Overall, Bomberman for NES is an extremely simple game, echoing the 1980s style of tough-as-nails arcade games without much real depth. It's fun, if not tedious. Thankfully though, damn near every other game in the series has more going on, and though much of the series tradition was set here, Bomberman would really hit his stride a few years later on Super Nintendo. They don't call it Super for nothing. I fucking hate Konami.